Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's episode of the strategy series, I want to go over how to counter a deck that has been slowly creeping up in the higher tiers of competitive play, especially in the non-American regions, and that is yellow Majin Vegeta. This deck has been very impressive ever since its debut in the recent Proud Warrior starter deck. Just recently, Philip Tarpini, our most recent world champion, won a regional in France with this deck, and we've been seeing it garner a lot of popularity, especially in Europe, and even I think in the last Australian regional as well. So this deck's getting much more popular, and it's probably not on the chopping block for the set 21 ban list, so it's good to go over this and talk about how to beat the deck going forward, because it'll probably be around for quite some time. So that being said, if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys do want to help support the channel, you plan on buying any of the cards we talk about in today's video, or any trading cards for that matter, it does really help me out if you would use my link in the description to TCG Player. I really would appreciate that. Anyways, let's jump right in. We always start talking about what the strategy we want to counter actually does. So Majin Vegeta, obviously it's a yellow deck, so that comes with its own slew of staples. You've got Black Kamehameha, you've got Bergamo, you've got Robotic Riposte, Swift Calculation Cooler. All those things you have to be prepared for when facing a yellow deck. But also, it's a kind of abnormal yellow deck because it's a much more aggressive strategy than most other yellow decks. So you also have to be ready to go up against an aggro matchup. That might mean your own slew of floodgates. That might mean managing your combo power more efficiently, keeping super combos in your opening mulligan. Those are all things you might want to do against an aggro strategy. And this deck has a lot of really powerful tools from set 20 itself. SS3 Goku Universe at Stake is an insane boss monster in the right yellow decks, and this strategy having a free Z leader makes Universe at Stake an insane 2-cost play. So definitely gotta be on the lookout for that. We'll talk about ways to counter that card later on. And also you've got Goku and Vegeta Ultimate Duo, which costs 1, it's 20k double strike, and it kills anything in rest mode. Doesn't ignore barrier, but it does negate skills, so it gets around indestructible and other permanents that prevent it from being removed from the board. These are all really insane cards the deck has going for them. Let's talk about specific ways to beat this deck. This is one of the best ways, and I know it sounds easy, but in some cases it can be a little more difficult, and that is to get SS2 Goku Destined Battle off the board as soon as you possibly can, because once the Majin Vegeta player is awakened, their leader not only draws a card on swing, but they tap a Goku to then tap one of your cards, and when they tap this Goku in particular, they get another draw. So for every turn that this card's allowed to remain on the board, they are literally drawing 2 cards per turn with their leader effect, basically. And in a competitive game of Dragon Ball Super, you have to make it your job to get this thing off the board as soon as possible. Whatever removal you have in your deck, obviously if you're playing like black, green, or blue, it's probably gonna be easier. If you're playing red, it might take you a few cards because it is 19k. It might take you a few -15s to get it off the board if you can't -20 it in one shot. And then if you're playing yellow, you probably got to get this thing into rest mode somehow to get rid of it. But whatever you need to do, definitely make sure you make that your #1 objective. The even better option is to counterplay this thing and get it off the board, but that is probably the most difficult route to go, and that's probably super strategy dependent. Like, for example, if you are playing green, Charismatic Villain, killing this thing on play just prevents them from getting that draw in the first place, because, you know, best case scenario, if you remove this thing on the turn after it's played, they've gotten 1 additional draw out of it. But cool, you get it off the board, you make them reinvest the energy into another one if they happen to draw an extra copy. But if you counterplay the card and get it off the board immediately, then they're just not getting that draw in the first place, which is definitely the most ideal route. They're also not going to be tapping any of your cards, any of your, you know, vital 1 drops you might have in active mode, your Unison, which if you play a Unison blocker, keeping that in active mode is obviously also going to be pretty good. As far as other colors being able to counterplay this, red does have a better option nowadays with Gohan defeating the demon. If you are playing Center Gogeta, it is quite possible to have enough Z energy to get this thing off the board ASAP. That's definitely a good option. The other colors, I think it's going to be a little bit tough to counterplay this effectively. In yellow, you can have the yellow Sin Shenron Champ Pack promo ready to go, but that probably requires you to go first to ever set that up. And to be honest with you, the only deck that can really set that up on turn 2 effectively is probably going to be Golden Frieza. So yeah, your options are definitely a bit limited in terms of counterplaying this thing as soon as it hits the board, but definitely do your best to get it off the board on your turn after it's played. The other cool thing from a competitive perspective about getting this thing off the board ASAP is that you now know what one of their energy is going to be dedicated to on the following turn. They basically have to replay another copy of this card if they're able to, because it's so vital to their draw engines. You can guarantee that one of their 3, maybe 4 energy is going to be used to play this card, which alleviates a little bit of pressure off you. That's a cool thing you can take from this. All right, now let's talk about the Z leader. We all know how insane free Z leaders are in Dragon Ball Super. Red Sin Shenron, absolutely insane deck, has a free Z leader. This leader is, pretty much the same in that regard. So the main thing on this leader is the activate battle. Add cards from light to hand so you have 1 life left, and this card gets plus 15k and double strike for the battle. Then choose all cards ignoring barrier and KO. And that is a very powerful board wiping effect, especially for a yellow deck, considering the fact this does not have to choose cards in rest mode in order to board wipe. But this is not actually a great defensive tool for this leader when played around properly. And basically what that means is you just can't all in on an unprotected battle card. Like if you have a battle card that can't be removed by skills or has indestructible, then sure, you can all in on that if it's the game-winning shot. But if you apply pressure by doing what we call going wide, by playing multiple battle cards and putting an adequate amount of pressure on all those instead of going all in on one card, you can play around this activate battle effectively. And the existing threat of Overwhelm is also going to make it very, very difficult for Majin Vegeta to ever safely board wipe on your turn. So as long as you can kind of keep that eerie threat out there and not dump 70k combo into one card, maybe that's not your entire hand, but maybe that's enough to where Majin Vegeta can safely board wipe and then negate and combo out of everything else you do. So make sure you're going in with your threats adequately as to not get blown out by this activate battle. Now on offense, this is just a better double strike Champa when they swing their leader, right? So if you are that 2 life range, make sure you do have negates for the Z leader, because they're going to go down to 1 life, get all those cards from the lights of their hand, gaining tons of card advantage. They're also going to go up to a 35k double strike, and they're probably going to be playing Gohan, Piccolo, SCR, which is going to make that just an astronomical number after all their super combos and 5Ks and everything else is said and done. So yeah, make sure you negate this thing on defense, and on offense, make sure you don't just play into getting blown out by the activate battle, because if played around properly, it's not a great defensive tool for them. Now let's talk about SS3 Goku Universe at Stake. This card's insane, and probably the most insane part about it is that when it swings, it can tap your energy down. We've seen so many formats, like Mecha Frieza Reboot, for example. We've seen the effects of being able to tap energy readily and how powerful that is. But the nice thing about the card, at least maybe the balance lever you could say, is that when they swing with it, you still have the opportunity to counterattack, which can be very, very useful. So for the example here, Petrification. A lot of black decks only leave 1 energy open for defense, but against this card, 1 energy for Petrification is all you need, because you'll tap your own energy before they had the opportunity to do it, and Petrification is going to lock down the SS3 Goku Universe at Stake. That's just one example. For blue, you even get the chance to do something before they attack with it, and that is use a card like Dirty Burst. But in a dire situation, you can still negate with a Dirty Burst, or even a D-Magic, which is going to have an interesting interaction. You negate with D-Magic, you untap 2, and they'll tap 1 of your energy with Universe at Stake, but you're still at 1 energy, which allows you to defend other things and maybe go into sense beam plays and other swings and stuff like that. So of course it depends on what color you're playing and what boss monsters stopping negates you have access to, but make sure you use your opportunity to use them before this thing taps your energy and then you're left defenseless. And then finally, I mentioned it's an aggro deck, but it's still a yellow deck. So you're definitely going to run across Majin Vegeta playing 4 copies of Robotic Riposte and probably 3 or 4 copies of SS Vegito Overwhelming Might. It is very, very important to have your respective answers to floodgates against this deck. Red's example is Beerus Ball, blue's got Desperate Measures, green's got Focused Breakthrough, yellow's got Tyrannical Blow, black has Begrudging Allies and Super Kamehameha, but the cool thing about Begrudging Allies is it is playable in every single deck if you don't have a better answer. Maybe you're playing a red deck that doesn't get to 4 life easily, maybe you don't want to play Beerus Ball, you could play Begrudging Allies as an example. Now on the flip side of that coin, they're playing an aggro deck, so make sure that your deck is prepared for whatever defenses you need, whether that's your various forms of floodgates, whether that's again your super combos and mulligan, or you're sideboarding certain floodgates. Maybe you're sideboarding Oceanus because it's a generic floodgate, and that actually is very good against Majin Vegeta because Tyrannical Blow, being their 1-cost counter to most floodgates, does not interact with Oceanus, so that's a good thing to know there. But yeah, guys, that's what I got for you today. I think this is a bit of a simpler countering guide because at the end of the day, we've seen tons of yellow strategies like this, except, for that aggro component. And yeah, when you're dealing with aggro, super combos, floodgates, defenses, all that good stuff. But we did talk about the specific ways that Majin Vegeta functions and how to counter it. So if you have any questions, please do drop them down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.
Alright, now that you guys finished watching that video, they should have never banned fucking Child's Wish. They shouldn't. Super Shadow was the best deck in the game. Super Shadow was the best!